Hi everyone, I'm filling in for Hank tonight. He had something come up, so I'll be reading his reports for him.
Okay, we ready? Okay. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:02, and we'll start off with roll call.
Gail Linden?
Jill Ingber.
Sarah Gutierrez.
Chris Kolbieski.
David Schwartz.
You part of roll call then?
I'm just.
Okay,
Matthew
okay.
Zaleski, city attorney.
And approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Aye, thank you. And approval of the minutes from February 23rd, 2026.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you. And item number 5, matter of discussion of the stormwater ordinance. Discussion with, Yep.
Yeah, Matt has put together a sample ordinance as a starting point for us. The content should be discussed, and we may want to make some tweaks. Hank will also be sending Matt's suggested ordinance to the Environmental Advisory Committee to get their feedback. Before we move to public hearing and take public comment and suggestions, so feel free to discuss it tonight or send any comments after, but make sure it's direct to Hank or I, not to the group,
okay.
through email.
And that's pertaining to the ordinances that, the packet as well, that we got last month?
Yes, good
Okay.
evening, commissioners. So I think to the extent that you have any comments on those, of course, we still would like to hear your thoughts. But now that we're starting to look at a framework for an ordinance that we can use going forward, certainly we want to dive into that too. And just, by way of overview, obviously you got a lot of paperwork at the last meeting, and it just kind of was presented without comment. And that was fairly intentional, because that was really just a first step of sourcing a number of other communities' ordinances. And, one of the questions that came up a couple months ago when I was last here was whether, any communities' ordinances particularly stand out. Are communities doing anything particularly innovative with respect to the different types of systems and such that you've been learning about through our engineer and other presenters? And, I think one of the stories that's told just by taking the high-level overview of the ordinances that we gathered together, and there were more too, but we kind of chose ones that seemed to be most reflective or most, for communities, most comparable to Huntington Woods. There's really a lot that's just the same. So you really have 3 key categories of ordinances that govern the water and runoff and drainage issues. So you've got the city sewer ordinances, you've got the soil erosion control variety of ordinance, and then you've got the building code, grading, and drainage type of ordinance. And of course, your various zoning ordinances and such as well. But I think where we've seen the most in terms of variation would actually be on the building code oriented grading and drainage type ordinances. Interestingly enough, many communities don't have one of those that's really called out. They rely on the building code, or they rely on their site plan requirements. So Huntington Woods is actually a little bit unique relative to some comparable communities in that it has one already. And what to do, I think that's a natural jumping off point, since that's really what the core issue is that we're talking about. It starts with the residences. It starts with the grading issues. It starts with the new construction. And so as we looked at some of the other communities that do have these ordinances, one was Bloomfield Hills, but a very different community. You get into communities with larger lots and different types of natural features, you start to see some different things. And that's true of the soil erosion and sewer ordinances as well. So some communities may be doing unique things, but they don't have the same type of environment as we do. The ordinance that really kind of stands out, that we thought as a good jumping off point if we wanted to look at tweaking and advancing the building drainage drainage and grading, I keep wanting to blur those two words together, would be the city of Berkeley. Obviously, a very comparable community, and my understanding is that their ordinances have been working quite well. So one of the differences between Huntington Woods' ordinance and Berkeley's, as they presently stand, is, Huntington Woods applies to all properties, but it does not get into really residential specific issues. It includes some open language about fairness and, you don't roll your water onto the neighbor, but if this is unfair, the building official can adjust it, and things like that. Whereas Berkeley's, I think, takes a very clear approach to the extent that it's really saying that each residential property has to manage its own water, and that is ultimately the goal. That ordinance also is very clear that it kicks in circumstances of a 50% or more renovation to a house in addition to new construction. Also introduces a topographical survey requirement for situations where somebody's putting on an addition of at least 300 square feet. This seems like, again, a starting point for discussion, and so what we've done here is taken the existing Huntington Woods grading and drainage ordinance and kind of blended in some of what Berkeley has been doing as an example. And they also had provisions about a topographical study being triggered in the event of a swimming pool addition. You could conceivably make it even clearer on flat work. Landscaping is in there. So there's ideas that we can work with. But we wanted to present this as sort of a what if you're interested in going in that direction, what it might look like, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. So I think that's a natural starting point, and then as we continue, we can continue to look at the soil erosion and perhaps the sewers as well. But this really seems to be the focal point to start. So I'd be very happy to hear any of your thoughts tonight and thereafter.
I had a question. I know it's been brought up many times in public participation in the past regarding this subject, and Oak Park was used, some of their ordinances or ordinance. Is that something, have you looked at that? And
I believe I did. I don't know that anything popped out, but I can
Okay.
definitely take a closer
Okay.
look at Oak Park.
anybody else?
I think it's a starting point with it. I think that Bloomfield Hills gave us too much and the land was too big. And in most cases, they just maintain it themselves and you don't have the same kind of layout of streets and lots and things like that. So, I think that the Berkeley is a good one. Birmingham is also in most cases, you could describe it, their lots might be a little bit bigger, but they're still, in most cases, postage size, as we might describe them.
Dealing with a lot of the same issues, especially with the new construction. So yeah, certainly if there's elements from other communities' ordinances that we put out there that you'd like to work with in this sample, anything else you'd be interested in seeing tweaking, especially in terms of the triggering points for the topographical studies and what needs to be in the grading plan, that would be fantastic.
So is the Berkeley ordinance in our packet?
I believe it was submitted to you last.
It was last
Meeting, yeah.
month's packet.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was Berkeley, Birmingham, and Bloomfield Hills, I think,
Right.
were the three packets that we got.
Okay.
One was something like 8 pages, and one was 47, and one was 74 or something.
Pretty thick packet. All right. Are you looking for any action item tonight from us?
No, there's no
Okay.
action item. This is
Okay.
just a discussion today.
Okay. Okay. And would it be appropriate to open up the public participation?
Absolutely.
Okay, just want to double check that. Okay. Any further questions? Okay. We'll open up the public participation. Please limit your, yeah.
Okay, so, on the master plan, it says that the code is pretty adequate, and I would agree. other than we are not saying how much water people can manage into the city storm sewer. Really, the problem is in the implementation and in the interpretation of the code. And one thing I've seen since coming to your meetings, this planning commission checklist, I don't know if you guys ever see it. And I know from digging into old files where there's water problems, we find some where they have sometimes somebody's initialing it, sometimes somebody's putting yes, no, leaving some blank, and some we don't see at all. So I recommend you look at this because you, Mr. Zaluski, said at a previous meeting, the downspout thing is a particular problem, certainly if you've got something that's being built not to the specifications of the site plan, the final approved building plans, that's incumbent upon the inspector to flag it and have the correction. But if it's already passed inspection and something's added afterward, blah, blah, blah. Well, the point is, we've had projects come up where it's not spelled out which way the downspouts are turned and so forth. And I asked Hank, well, what does the building inspector go on when he goes to do the final inspection? And he said, common sense. So what is Huntington Woods' frame of reference to know? Because I know even the garages around me, when I look at the plans, they show drip edges, but the resident has downspouts on them. So Huntington Woods can't even approve what they approved. So I suggest that who's ever making a motion to approve a house, there's got to be some checkpoints in the system. And I know I gave you all a handout of what I think should be looked at in terms of just overall reviewing stormwater. Because things like even driveways, the driveway that went in behind me just had an outline of it, and it said same footprint, but it didn't say where the high point was, it didn't say which way the driveway was sloped. And the next year, I was flooded up all the way, I have 20 feet behind my garage and almost all the way up to 20 feet of my garage. So the whole enforcement is really an issue. And I wanted to read, you have this homeowner affidavit that says, I certify that I am familiar with the provisions of the applicable ordinance and the rules governing the type of installation, and hereby agree to make installation in conformance with the ordinance. So that seems like a pretty good CYA clause for the city. But then the city has things on theirs that says this will only be approved according to code. So who's responsible for that? And then I had a letter from Hank that said, it's true you've got a problem in your yard, but it's mostly your water. So is there a threshold of water that somebody's supposed to take? And the code, I don't have it right in front of me at the moment, I can find it, where it says the city takes responsibility for enforcing code. I'd like to know, what are the limits of that? When do they not enforce? Because also we've got another person who came and complained about water, and when we went and found the site plan, there was no final as-built survey done, and Huntington Woods can't prove that they did it. So who's responsible? And then again, the site plan.
30 seconds.
Yeah, the site plan shows a little tiny patio, but now there's a huge patio displacing more water. So what was approved? Did they pour the concrete later? You know, Huntington Woods needs to have some real good CYA checkpoints that this is what we approved. Because I've seen enough projects coming through in the last couple months where they like let it go with the downspouts looking like they're going into the ground, and then the architect says, oh, don't worry, you know, we'll turn them the right way. She cares about water. Okay, well, what is the right way? So I hope they start looking over their implementation, and I hope you guys look over the planning commission checklist. So
Can you give your name and address for the record as well?
Susan Considine, 12727 The South. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public participation? Okay, we'll close public participation. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item number 6, matter of a joint meeting with ZBA.
This is an annual opportunity for members of the ZBA to attend the planning commission, meeting to discuss anything that they regularly see and suggest possible changes to the zoning ordinance. These topics can include current or future concerns.
I see we have Ben. If you, I don't know if you want to come up, yeah.
Well, you're here too, Chris, right?
Yeah.
should be here. And, you know, we've had, we have heard about, you know, stormwater and issues like that, I think there are well within the purview of planning commission. So, you know, the more clarity that can, you know, and really overall, you know, the more precision within the four corners of the ordinance, then the fewer variances that we need to see. In terms of the kinds of things that could maybe be codified, or where we're seeing them and more or less automatically saying yes, if A then B. The only one that comes to mind right now is ones where it is exclusively a function of the platting of the property being different from the actual facing of the property, and then it's a lot of verbal gymnastics of the platted rear yard versus the actual functional rear yard, side yard. So that, you know, those are, again, they're very doable by way of a variance. It is potentially something that I think could be written into the code, that for people when it's really, you know, clear just based on the street number, the front door, as compared to the 100-year-old platting, then it might be something that could be accounted for within the code, that then people wouldn't need the additional time and cost and mild uncertainty of coming before our board to ask for a variance.
Ben, can I ask you, those are corner lots that you're talking about?
I mean, I
Have
guess.
you had other ones? Because otherwise it really is corner as to whether you really have two front yards as the ordinance reads and stuff like that, but
Well,
I can't
right,
think of
corners or quasi corners where it, you know, it kind of
Angled.
is not on the gridded part and two streets sort of comes together. But yes, essentially,
Okay.
if it's
We did, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
was
was gonna say, we worked on that
Yeah.
last year.
An ordinance
Did
with
that,
it.
Right, I want to say city commission adopted second reading of it maybe 2 months ago,
Right,
so
yeah.
help
Okay.
should be on the
Good for
way,
us.
but if you're still seeing issues
That's why I
that
was
slip
asking.
through.
We did address it.
yeah.
right, I couldn't think of a version of that if it was in the middle of a block, that it would clearly
Yeah,
be.
we had a bunch, we went through a bunch of
Yeah.
Yeah.
iterations with that and made that recommendation to the city commission.
It was definitely some verbal.
Right.
I mean, the other one that we're seeing.
Problem solved, Ben.
See? Small
We
victories,
did it
right?
already.
Good. I mean, the other one that we are seeing, I think, a little bit more of, that, you know, one is garage size and dimensions, and, you know, which is outlined in the code, I think varies based on the R1, A or B, or, and is distinct from other accessory structures. There was one that he did not get his request. You know, and we do try to be consistent enough with, this isn't about the kind of the use, right? It's a spatial variance. Then there's the reality of like who's sitting here and sort of what they're asking for. So, you know, there was one where it was, you know, to have enough room for a third car for a Mustang or something cool. Gail, you were there. And it didn't get it for a combination of reasons. And then another for a family that was a ranch with no basement and was just looking to use as opposed to, instead of having like a separate shed, they asked him and got approved for, you know, 200 extra square feet of garage so that they could make that storage, again, based on just lacking it really elsewhere in the property. So it might be something where, again, I know garages have a specific, section, and there are definitely concerns about, the overall lot coverage and setbacks and things, but, it is something where people, we have bigger vehicles or more vehicles, and, not my family, I biked here, but that's, the cars are in revenue use this evening by others. But I think we'll continue to see more of that, so potentially something where, in lieu of a separate accessory structure or other non-porous, impervious lot coverage, people could maybe, horse trade to get a little bit bigger garage is something that, you might consider, because I think we'll continue to see those.
My comment to you on that is I think that you addressed it well with the person who doesn't have a basement in doing it. I think it was last year, we changed the accessory size building that only used to be 100 feet, and it didn't matter whether you were on a 40-foot lot, a 50-foot lot, or whether you were in what is called the acres. We increased it to 200 and so on. So I think in the other cases, the garage size leading up to, I mean, we had one person come to build a new house, and they wanted to build a 6-car garage here in Huntington Woods, and the, architect said, well, you can do it in Birmingham. And the answer was, if you want to pick up your house and take it to Birmingham, then go do it, but you can't do it here.
Yeah.
So I think that we've got restrictions, and I think that in most cases, because I've said on ZBA too, that they apply and they work, and if not, they come and they ask for the variance and they may get it, but just because they want a third bay or whatever else and the lot doesn't fit it, and it gets into stormwater and more coverage in the backyard than 50%, it creates other issues for it. So I don't see garage size changing right now.
Right, that may be, and people can, come and ask for the extra space if they want it. Again, no, I think in all my time on ZBA, I think we've only had one or two actual use variances, but a lot of times what we're seeing is a sort of a use variance, but it's just manifesting spatially, and the two kind of big categories of that, I think, especially during COVID, was like kind of live work spaces or more space for that, and that's still the case. And the other one that I would expect just demographically to see more of is like age in place things where people want some additional flexibility. And again, that's not something we should consider as one of the criteria, but I think from a practical standpoint, people want to continue to live here, and if they can adapt their homes to allow that, then that's something that would consider. Again, it would be hard to see how that would be written into the code, because if you're over 65, you can you can do something different than if you aren't, but something that you'll probably be seeing variations of as well. I don't know, Chris, any other ones that we've?
I can't think of anything.
I feel like there was a streak of like wider driveways that we haven't seen as much
Yeah.
recently, but like same thing with the garages,
Yeah.
a lot of big cars, and we want people to keep buying the trucks, we need to keep buying the trucks, but that doesn't mean they have to have more driveway to park it in. Otherwise, happy if you have questions, for us, certainly the ones where they've already come and gotten site plan approval, and it's just the variance for the 180 square feet, or for 10 more inches of setback, then that tends to grease the wheels for us in looking at it, knowing that it's gotten you've gone over it thoroughly, as I know you do.
Can I ask you a question? Is there a square footage amount that you're typically okay with, like 200 feet? Or is there a number, or is it just really?
It really is, I think of it as more qualitative, you know, certainly it will come down to a number, like there was one that you had already approved where they were kind of just squaring off the house and it was the upstairs, it wasn't actually changing the footprint, but they needed just by, it wouldn't have been lot coverage, I guess, by total square foot, it was less than 200 square feet, but no, it's not, I like to look at it, try to look at it holistically, and especially knowing like a lot of times it is in a particular zone or part of the city, but is different from the other lot sizes, which can be a factor. But you know, when there are ones where it seems like there's a, you know, one of the criteria is this the minimum necessary, and you know, one way to answer that, maybe that's how they do in Birmingham or wherever, is like, well, the minimum necessary is nothing, like, take us to court, right? But that's not like how we like to do things here. So I think it's like, does it, and a lot of times also they've worked with Hank and kind of gone back to the drawing board or had it come in front of you and do things like that one, it was better for the fenestration, right? We don't get to say fenestration as much in our board, but it's a fun word. And so it made sense in that case, again, when you sort of looked at it, the kind of the totality of the circumstances. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely ones where it's like really is de minimis just by looking at the, you know, the agenda is this, you know, they need 9 square feet, but they need it because it's just on the other side of what's allowed. And there's times where it's substantially more and there's a compelling reason why.
Okay.
And sometimes where it's not that much, but it doesn't really make sense. It's just, would be nice to have, but there's nothing about the shape of the lot or the way the house is situated on the lot or any of that kind of checks those boxes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
All right. Well, thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Ben.
See you next month.
All right.
All right. Okay, moving on to number 7, matter of site plan review.
Is there public comment on that one?
Yeah, we're going to public participation.
So I
Sorry.
think- I think Ben had a good point about holistically looking at it, because one thing I think you should look at is the 50% rear lot coverage, because it's not just how much grass there is, it's which way the water's going. Like even this house that's coming up, I don't know what this deck or patio is made out of, but it matters which way it's sloped. And I've asked Hank before to explain, I don't know if you guys know how 50% rear lot coverage works. I said, how do you calculate it? Because when you allow a house to get bigger, just when it needs more grassy area to manage its water, the 50% rear lot coverage has proportionally decreased too. So, and I've seen houses, he will count the little strip along the back of the garage and the side of the garage when it's at the minimum setback. And like, is that strip relevant so that they can have a bigger patio if it can't manage water? And he brought up, Ben's still here, a couple examples. Like there was a house that then had to come to them because they wanted it a little bigger. It came to you guys. They've already exceeded their 50% rear lot coverage. And you're like, oh, look, nobody asked how it happened. And yet then you let them also have a bigger house. And then I saw that property come up before you guys that had a pie-shaped backyard. And they have downspouts here. And it's like, how does Mother Nature know that when the water starts flowing, it has to go into a point? And nobody bothered to look into that. And then we had the property that came up before them. They wanted their garage bigger, and they're dumping their water behind the garage. And Hank said, oh, they have a French drain or something in the back. Well, that should be written into the plan, that this house has to maintain a functioning water containment system behind the garage. But again, we don't have what was officially approved, because it's just kind of like this. So I don't know what the building inspector's using common sense, but I don't know how Huntington Woods would stand up in court when they can't say what they approved. And we don't know if there's another house on Hart where the person's getting water behind them, and the downspouts were moved to the back, but they were approved in front. And if the inspector doesn't check off what he's approving, he or she, then we don't know. And then who's negligent in that effect? And then we can't get Huntington Woods to step in to do anything about it. And so then it's always the adjacent neighbor who's been affected by stormwater who just has to do what they have to do to protect themselves. So what was the other one that came up? So I really think you guys should look at 50% rear lot coverage, because it's not just how much grass there is, it's how it's managing its water. Because again, just when the house gets bigger, and if they have a separate garage, then the little backyard that's
30
left.
seconds.
Yeah, the house and the garage are competing, again, unless, like we've seen, now people are dumping as much water as they can, including their house, onto their driveway, and the rest of us who are paying for the publicly paid-for system, sewer system, we have to manage other people's water. So, and you guys have it on there that they're not supposed to be dropping onto impervious surfaces, but I see it. When you drive around the city, I'll wrap up here, just look, how many people, even their front downspouts, the water can only be managed in your front yard, your backyard, or the right-of-way, or illegally to your neighbor. Just drive around and see who's dropping their front downspouts onto their driveway versus managing it in their front yard. So, thank you.
Thank you.
This item was
Any other
joint meeting.
public participation? Okay, we'll close public participation. All right. Moving on to item number 7, matter of site plan review for the addition at 13114 Victoria. You guys want to come up to the table? It looks like there's only one chair. You can pull up a couple chairs if you want. And then we'll just have you introduce the project, and we'll have Francisco follow up with any follow-up questions or anything as well.
Before we let the professional take the questions, we just want to introduce ourselves, and also I want to thank the board for the time and their attention to this matter. My name is Matthew Ross.
I'm Alex Herman.
And I was fortunate enough to move here in 2020 during the pandemic. I was even more fortunate to marry Alex last year in July. And part of our hope in front of this board is that we'll be able to make this our lifelong home, a place where we can raise a family. And what's very meaningful to me is that actually my family grew up in Huntington Woods. My brother was born in 1975, then in 1978 I was born. Unfortunately, I was the reason they had to leave. They couldn't find enough space. So this sort of is a full circle moment for us, and we're here for any questions, and we appreciate your time on this matter.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, talking about the house, when I was approached by Matthew and Alex, looking at the house, and they love the house. I love the house. I think it's got great bone to start with, and the idea, the concept of the design was basically keeping the exact same approach to the heat proof, the same kind of brick, the same idea of the windows, basically continue, so it would be a cohesive addition. Basically, it would be the same kind of modern look of the existing house. From the front, the only addition that you see from the front is that we are expanding the front porch, which I know it's encouraged by the city for the front porch. Currently, there is a front porch, but it's only in front of the door. We actually continue the entire length of the house. The front porch and the cover actually is already there. That's all you see from the front. You see a little bit over the what's today it's a breezeway. On the addition is mostly in the back of the house. It's very simple, and you can see right now on the screen on the bottom elevation that is showing the back of the house. Yep, you see over there, and you see that to the left, that's the large addition of a great room on the first floor and bedrooms on the second floor with a fireplace on the right, and then the flat roof, which continues to the flat roof from the front, and we have a little addition to the garage storage area. Even the garage addition And you see we got this glass door with a, that's existing glass door actually, the garage door. But next to the main door, it's a glass door with a transom above, and we had another window in the back, just, it's also we have the construction that we need to get the square footage, but also for the look of the house in the proportion of the elevation. The design is following all the guidelines and ordinance, and the sight line was, you see the site plan, so you see the layout of the house, how it's sitting on the lot, and if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer any question you might have.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a request from Art Green for site plan approval for a new home at 13114 Victoria. The property is zoned R1C and consists of 2.5 lots with irregular dimensions of 100 by 130 feet, totaling 12,830 square feet. The proposed home is 3,506 square feet, which is within the maximum permitted 3,526 square feet. And lot coverage is 2,727 square feet, or 21.3%, where 30% is permitted. The proposed height is 24.4 feet within the 30-foot maximum. The front yard setback is 35 feet, where 30 feet is required. Side yards are 6.53 feet on one side and 30.58 feet total, where 5 feet and 14 feet total are required. And the rear yard is 49.38 feet, where 35 feet is required. For comparison, the west neighboring property at 13126 Victoria is 80 by 130 feet, totaling 10,400 square feet, with a 2,674 square foot bungalow that is 1.5 stories, brick with an attached garage. The east neighboring property at 1300 Victoria is 162 by 130 feet, totaling 8,750 square feet, with a 3,684 square foot two-door that is 1.75 stories, brick, and has an attached garage. The subject property is proposed as a 3,506 square foot colonial with two stories, brick exterior, and an attached garage, placing it generally in line with surrounding homes in terms of size and character while being on a larger lot. While the NOAC and FROUS report does not approve the proposal, many of the noted items are considered boilerplate, and the revised plans will continue to be reviewed by the planning and building departments. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Open up to questions.
I do. Francisco, are window sizes required on the plans? There aren't any window sizes on any of the drawings, if I'm not mistaken. And secondly, you're getting 150 square feet for fenestration, and yet I don't see that, at least in the windows you've drawn, that there's any, style of fenestration in there. They just seem to be sliders or, single pane ones. And what type of windows are they?
Yeah, some of them are fixed and some of them are casement.
Okay. And will they have dividers in them, or are they're solid?
Correct.
Okay.
It's the style of the house, the existing, and we are continuing with that same
Okay.
style.
So you're getting it for the windows themselves, but there's no architectural detail in the windows or in wood windows or things like that, as far as you're getting the maximum you can get anyway at 400 and, well, I think you can't be over 600 square feet or whatever.
Correct. Yeah, it's all calculated, we are with the 20% required.
Okay. But I just questioned in our plans and what we approve, and what the, inspector's gonna go out and inspect, do we know what size windows are going in?
Yes, we do, and actually, I can show you here, there's the calculation here, per elevation that shows the area of each wall and the windows in proportion, so, it was done correctly.
Right, I like the way the windows looked, I just didn't know, which were existing windows, which were new windows, and what the sizes were.
Okay, well, on the existing house, we are not touching, when we're replacing them, but the same opening. All the new opening is just the new addition.
Okay. Thank you. And then the other question is, you're moving the front door somewhat in the look of the house, but the porch is gonna go the whole length of the front of the house, correct?
The front door stay where it is.
I thought it said that it was moving.
We're moving it up a step.
Oh, okay. When I was thinking you're moving, I thought you're taking it out of here, maybe
No.
moving a foot or whatever to the
Now,
side.
So it's like a typical Huntington Woods home, and you walk in, and then there's a little vestibule, and then you have to step up to the main floor. So we're moving it up, so when you go from the upstairs outside, you are flat.
You're level and you're not having to make another step.
Yes.
Okay,
But the
because I didn't
front porch,
understand.
we're extending the entire width.
Right, I did see that,
The
but
entire width of the whole front of the house?
Yes.
I did see that, and then it said that you were moving the door, so that's,
The big portion, the front portion, of the house, the entire width.
Right, okay.
Francisco, if you can show the front elevation, more up. Here you go. So you see on the top picture,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so you see the front porch is on the right side of the house. Then today, it's the breezeway, which we are going to make it into, it's breezeway, it's usable right now as well, but then the garage on the left. So the front porch is on the right-hand side.
It will now be consistent with the overhang.
okay. And there are basically 3 posts, one at each end, and then a second one at the porch where you walk in, where the steps are.
Yes.
Okay. And then the garage is getting an addition also.
It's a small storage area at the back of the garage.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions either.
Can you, Francisco, can you take us through Norwalk and Frostite? Because I know Hankman had mentioned that they weren't, they had a comment in the notes that they had
What was that? I'm sorry.
No
some
other Frost's
concerns.
letter?
Yeah. And I don't know if you could,
All in here that I got.
Under additional concerns?
yeah, right on the bottom of that page.
Oh, hold on a minute. Oh, geez. It says, additional concerns, form, scale, and massing. Do you want me to,
Yeah, I just don't know if you can kind of summarize what their concerns were.
to be honest, I did not go through this with them, so you may have to email them, but. Recuse's general requirements, MH project number shall be added, so project number should be added to the plan, shall propose concrete pavement thickness. Details for sidewalk and driveway concrete shall be added to plans. Show the location of the existing sanitary service lead and existing water service. And then it just says add notes to plans. Do you want me to go through all of them?
Well, yeah, I guess my other question I had was, to the point of what the patio is going to be. Is it going to be a deck? Is it going to be concrete or anything like that? Or do we have we made a final decisions on that yet?
We did not make a decision yet.
Okay,
on that.
okay,
Yeah, but the footprint is what we would like.
right,
to use.
okay. All right, as well, okay. Any other questions at all? Okay, we'll open up the public participation.
Okay, so that raises a good point, is then what's going to get approved? Are you approving a patio without knowing the permeability coefficient of what's being installed? Or can you just approve the house without a patio, and then it has to come to planning and zoning to measure that all out? And this is a good example. Again, please look at your planning commission checklist, and somebody should be looking it over. And I would encourage you to make the requirements for architects and surveyors consistent, because when I look at the survey and the aerial, I don't see downspouts specifically marked. And then you have to look for them on the elevations, and then you don't see the driveway and the other impermeable surfaces, so we don't know if they're dropping onto the patio dropping onto the driveway. We have no idea about that. So I do like you in your suit at at the barbecue there. So, and I just want to remind you, next month, number 48 on the master plan, which it's legally required to implement a master plan. It's been your high priority item since April 28th of last year. Other requirements could include requiring residential properties that add over a certain threshold of square footage, you talked about that earlier, trying to determine what that is, to show retention of first flush storm events for the net increase of impervious surface they add. So again, that patio, even the house, I know it looks like a big lot, it's oriented sideways, but still, depending on the slopes and the angles, and sometimes we're only getting survey points right at the property line, but that doesn't tell you really what's going on the other side. There could be water issues, so please consider reviewing this whole process and somebody being a checkpoint on planning and zoning, and also to get architects to submit consistently. Again, sometimes they'll put a black circle for a downspout, sometimes they just put an X. So I've seen DS, and I would just go make them be consistent for you, so you don't have to look around, well, what did this architect do? And also ask them to be consistent about, again, this house is probably not a problem with 50% rear lot coverage, but that should be a consistent measurement that you have as a frame of reference, and Huntington Woods should have it as a frame of reference, so if somebody goes and adds something later. But I don't know how you can approve that patio, just approve the house, until you know where that water's gonna go, because that's, I have 20 feet behind, I think they have, 15 more feet behind that patio? I have 20 feet behind my garage, and when the ground's frozen, you've got a lot of water to manage coming off of that. So should that patio be sloped toward the west, toward the yard, instead of sloped, risking the neighbor to the north? I don't know. Hopefully you guys will look at that. Thank you.
Can I answer?
Sure. If you want to respond, that's fine.
Actually, all the answer to our questions are on the plan. The grading is on the plan. The civil engineer did an excellent job showing all the drainage. It's part of the requirement, so he provide that. The patio, if it's being a deck or a built-up patio for the drainage, it does not make a difference. The water will be drained away from the back of the house to the front as the city required. Also regarding the downspout, which showing on the elevations, the location of the downspout also showing on the roof plan. So when you look at the set of drawing, the city will look at it, you look at the entire set. There's elevation, there are plans, there are sections, or whatever it is. So just want to make sure that all those items are important and they are addressed in those set of drawings.
And on the patio drawing or deck, that's 2 steps that you're taking off of it, going into the yard. Is that what those 2 lines are?
4 steps,
4 steps?
yes.
Okay, because the drawing itself just has 2 sets of lines. On the very first page, on the site plan.
3 steps, I'm sorry, yes.
2?
3.
3? Okay. Okay.
Any other public participation? Okay. Close public participation. Any further discussion and/or motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Congratulations. Would you like your plans?
Would you like the extra sets?
And by the way, our condolences about Doug.
Is that? Here.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you, guys. Yes.
Thank you.
Beautiful
Good.
pen.
Yeah, congrats.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, matter of public hearing roofing.
At the time of notice, we had a communication issue with the Oakland Press who took over for Royal Oak Tribune. So as a result, we missed our legal notice requirements, so we have to defer this to April.
Do we need a vote to table this for next month?
Yes. I think
Okay,
we can do that.
okay.
So
So-
move to table item 8 to the April meeting.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And now we'll open up to public participation.
So I just want to raise a point there, because I've noticed when a project comes up where maybe they are pouring new concrete after, I don't always see that they pull permits. So what did you just approve? Did you approve, I mean, if they want a wood deck with slats in between to absorb water, but did you just approve concrete? What did you guys just approve? And what's going to be on the record for what was approved? What's on the record now? See, that's what we run into, is all this loosey-goosey stuff. And yes, there's downspouts, but you guys, which way are those downspouts turned? Could I pull out that thing and you guys say, oh yeah, and this one's gonna shoot here, and this one's gonna shoot here, and this one's gonna shoot here? What did you guys just approve? So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public participation? Okay. Close public participation. Before we adjourn, I just, from myself, I don't want to talk, speaking for everybody, but just my condolences. I'm sure everybody feels the same way, for our Public Works Director, as well to the city and to the city staff as well. So, okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Francesco, are we gonna continue to get plans here at the meeting?
Hank
Day
said,
of-
Hank said yes, I asked him that. He said yes. You guys will continue to have your sets here.
And as far as the whole packets are concerned, they'll just be online?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If I could request, I mean, I just think, I'm okay with everything being online, except the packet for the site plan that gives us like the comps would be really helpful to have
Okay,
on paper.
okay, let me write that.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's hard to see on these.
Yeah,
The iPad helps a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
you had the right idea.
Yeah.
And can you include any NOAC and Frost reviews that occur prior to site plan?
I'd have,
Can that be uploaded with the site plan?
I can talk to Hank about it.
Anything else, guys?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is that what we're looking for?
Second.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody.